Call this meeting to order. Roll call first. Council at Large Boots.
Here.
At Large Spear.
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Leeper.
Here.
Ward number 2 Anderson.
Here.
And Ward number 3 McNeil.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now to the agenda. We have some changes to the agenda. Ryan, do you want to go through yours first?
I have two. One is a correction on new business number 1. That's the resolution that concerns the contractor BWC. At the beginning, there's a reference to the settlement agreement. It says dated December 12th, 2018. That should say something such as signed December 21, 2018. So really it's just a clarification of the date. Other than that, the resolution is okay. The other one is one that I'd like to have removed from the agenda. That's number 7 under new business, which was a discussion and possible action concerning notification from fire chief.
All right. Then with those changes, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Boots with the first and Leeper with the second.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
All right, so the agenda has been approved, and now we'll move to communications. There are no scheduled ones. So if anyone would like to address the council, you can make your way to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Hold on.
Deb Wyman, 1118 Lynn Street, Tipton, Iowa. Anyway, I was going to show you some of the pictures that I've taken of the trees that we've planted and replanted uptown. And none of them are planted in the yellow areas where people park. You know, so when you open your car door, or someone that's handicapped that's trying to get in or out, these trees are, like here's the big one but all of these were on Main Street on the west side, and some are going down 5th Street, if you'd like to look at them. And so and some of these were replanted this summer, the smaller ones. Like this one was pulled out and redone. And so we're spending money on this, I don't know why, but none of these are in the yellow area where you don't park your car. They're planted where you park your car. Okay. So I was just wondering if there was some way we could stop spending money and maybe save some?
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you, Deb.
Yep.
Well, this is concerning the problem with garbage in the alley on 5th Street. And we had decided informally that we put the garbage cans along the street in front of the storefronts. And that works out okay. Except it's been Christmas and we've had recycle that didn't get the garbage cans. And I was wondering if we have to do some refiguring about how many garbage cans are there, could we also get a recycle can? People put a box in and take up a third of the space, or leave it alongside. Now, we removed them today, but I kind of hate to do that every time. Okay, that's the first problem. And I don't know, what do you think about the aesthetics of it, having garbage cans along the street there? Steve, have you had any feedback on that, as to what it looks like?
I haven't gotten any negative feedback from anybody. I do know that there are 4 cans out there that the Sunville plan or group pays for. Currently, there are 7 accounts at $35 or 35 gallons per account, and we have 4 64-gallon cans out there that they pay for, which is just a little more than the $35 for each of the 7 accounts. So we're real close on that. The recycle situation, I think that would be a fine thing to do. Nobody's ever requested recycling that I'm aware of. We could put a couple of recycling cans there as well. The aesthetics of it, would we rather see things in the alley than on the street? Absolutely. As you all know, that alley is really narrow. Lends itself to other people utilizing it as their garbage dump site, which really is a problem. Which I do think has been resolved moving the cans out.
Well, it's 100% better.
And I'm happy for that, but has anybody else heard anything negative about the way that looks? I'm just...
Well, we will attempt to keep it as neat as possible, and as long as this works.
I would be happy to bring a couple of recycling containers up there.
Let's do that then.
And see, I did see the cardboard laying out there, which I understand how that works and how that should
Andy
be.
was supposed to pick that up, so I hope he's gone now, but,
And we're happy to do that.
okay.
Anything else that,
Well, the other part of it is, we've been paying for 2 garbage cans for, up on Cedar Street, on 501 and 50, the bank building and what used to be the bill office, or Mitch's shop now. No one knows where those cans are. So they've been using our cans, or, actually, let me explain to you. When I say our cans, I'm talking about, I still have the gallery. Mitch has the one next to it, 503, and then Cersei has the 4 over on 5th Street. So it's kind of a family project. So when I say ours, that's what I'm talking about.
that was a concern. I went up and looked today to see where those cans are, maybe. I don't know where they're at either, and I think what's happened, when we put that tub back there and incorporated all those 7 accounts into that tub, that 350-gallon tub, those were probably taken away at that time, and that tub was put in there in place. But when I say 7 accounts, I'm including those 2 accounts, the 5 on the 5th Street side and the 2 on the Cedar Street side. So,
Yeah, I'll have to check into the count on that because I've been under the impression I've been paying more than they.
I do have, Cindy did a nice job of researching that
Oh, good.
after, and I have the work right here, and I could review that with you after the meeting. Okay,
Do they have to wait until the end?
we can, I'd be happy to leave right now. Are we good to go?
Yeah.
No question.
No.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank
if
you.
you want to talk to Steve, definitely do that. All right, thank you.
Jamie Woody, 102 Mulberry. I'm here to address the number 7 that just got removed from the agenda. I guess my question to the city is, and the council, if a decision is made for a harassment claim to be made to the city, if we can allow somebody to just retire from a department and make the harassment go away that way, when a retirement just means that they go away, absolutely fine. They can still attend things. They can still take part in things. Still apply for other city jobs where they could be over top of people.
This is a question they cannot answer.
I get it, but it's going to be on the agenda, and I'd like to make myself heard. That pushing something under a table is not always the best thing to do. in all situations. I haven't got an answer. I'm a party to this, but I've told nothing. So this is all I can do as I watch it slowly disappear and hopefully just go under the rug and be done. So the best thing I can do is just address and just say, I don't want things to just go away. If there's issues, please address them. Allowing somebody to just retire and walk away in good faith, showing that they're a great person, doesn't solve problems. I tried to get answers from a city manager, and I can't. And it was supposed to be addressed today, but now he just struck it, which I didn't know until I walked in here. So
I told you this morning that this was possible. And I told you this morning that this is an item that they cannot talk about tonight. And a lot of what you're doing is based on assumption on what you think is going to happen. And this hasn't played out yet.
I know, yet. But once it plays out, it's done. Is what you told me. The situation goes away. If it plays out with the retirement and all it takes is him to write one letter, then the situation is done. I don't know what else to do.
I don't think either party in a situation like this should make public statements that the other one can evaluate. And then you get into an argument at a council meeting.
I don't want to get in an argument. I don't. But I don't know what else to do. I just want to know if this retirement goes through, does it end everything? If it's the council's decision, because if they accept the retirement, does that end everything?
These aren't questions that can be answered tonight.
Okay, and that's what I didn't know. With it being on the agenda, I assumed it was. I have no answers. I've had no statements. I've had no information given to me. I don't know. I have no idea what happens. I've been trying to get information, but I don't know. And then I see it on the agenda. So I don't know. And that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for a fight. I'm not asking for anything. I would just like everyone to know that information has to be given for all sides. And I can only do what I know, and I don't know. So just information along the way would help a lot.
And we also have to follow the law
I get that.
as to what can be talked about and what can't. And I'm not going to put you or another party or the council in jeopardy by talking about this tonight.
Okay. But that means it will just go away then. I mean, that's when, will it get decided?
At some point, everything comes to a conclusion, but right now, we were trying to talk to our source, our city attorney, and she is out of town until, I believe, Thursday. So I won't have anything at least until then.
And that would be great to know. I had no answers. I pose questions, but I don't have answers. And then I see this on the docket, and there's no other statement other than it's going to be here. And to me, once a council votes on something,
And
then
when
it's done.
things are done, I don't know how much I can say.
Will I be informed before it goes to a council vote that ends it?
I will consult with our attorney.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to go on record to basically say, as part of the party, I'd like to know something. I mean, I'd like to be a part of this too. And still, instead of reading the council minutes 2 months later, realize, I guess it is done. I didn't even know. That's all I'm asking. Just don't forget there's two parts in here, and everyone wants to know a little bit. Information is golden, but it's deadly when you don't know it, when you don't know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Larry Hodgson, 210 East 6th Street, Tipton. Good evening and happy New Year. Here goes to start another year. A couple things first. I want to thank, and unfortunately they're not here right now, but I want to convey to the council my appreciation to Floyd Tabor for the assistance and cooperation he gave me in hooking up my solar project, which is now up and operating. So I wanted you to know that he was very cooperative, and I appreciate the city's cooperation in this. Also, of course, you know the weather this fall was terrible for leaf pickup. You never knew when it was going to be dry enough to get them to the curb. The city, when it rained and snowed and everything else, couldn't get them done. So Steve Nash has agreed. I talked to Steve Nash the other day, and he agreed to come by the First United Church and pick up all of our leaves if we were to get them right to the curb this weekend, and we did. And they were by today and picked them up, and I really do appreciate that. That's going out of their way to take care of the residents, and I really do. I want you guys to know I appreciate that. I do have something else. I'm going to pass out a handout. I may have one for you, I'm not sure. See how many I got there. I do have one for Melissa. The two sides on yours, both sides. The figures on the one side were provided to me by the city, by Brian and Melissa and Virgil. And that's city's figures on the cost of the project, how much money they put into it. And I'll be referring to that on the other side as Exhibit A. Now, what you see on the cost listing is a total cost of $83,949.35 put into that gas pipeline project to the rural development southwest of Tipton. And a couple of things I'll draw your attention to. One is, go down the list, you'll see a number of items where there's only 3 of a quantity, including regulator, meter, valves, and that. Well, obviously those were used to hook up the 3 houses that currently have had gas run to them. So you can figure what each house, the cost of materials just for hooking up a house is. Further down, you'll see that estimate was only for 100 hours of labor, and I'll bring that up here in just a minute. Generally speaking, though, other than that, I agreed with most all of their cost, with one exception, which I'll bring up. Before I start, I just wanted to say one thing, and I happened to think today, and I thought this was pretty appropriate. I looked up the definition for pipe dream. A lot of you have heard of a pipe dream. And the dictionary listed as a fanciful or unrealistic notion, hope, or plan. And that comes from Random House Webster College Dictionary. Okay, city, you've got the information on the city cost, projected cost of that, $83,949.35. This does not include $6,531.21 for an electrofusion machine, which was purchased in June specifically to do this project because of the large number of pipes they had to join together. And if I had to do that project, I would have purchased it as well. It was something they really needed for the project, but it was not included in the cost of the project, though I think it should have been. The 100 hours of labor listed, if anybody who drove by that project through the summer, 3 months of time. They started in July, didn't get done until late October. And I was out there a lot of times. They were back and forth, city vehicles back and forth, trenching, filling in trenches, working with SWIC. 100 hours is not a realistic number. Several other people I know that live out that way, drove by the project, agree with me that it's well over 100 hours of labor, probably closer to 300. There's also no accounting for the fuel that was used in the equipment or for the vehicles which have to travel back and forth the 2 miles to get to the project. As far as I'm concerned, the total cost to the city is probably closer to $100,000 at this point. Cost of hooking up 3 houses can be determined by looking at the materials list and figured out 1 gas valve, 1 regulator, 1 meter, piping, and required items that each house costs. That comes to $224.49 per house. Any additional homes hooked up would incur that cost, as well as running a gas line from the street to the house and the labor involved. It's unrealistic to think that this could be done in less than a half a day with 2 employees involved. At 8 hours of labor, at the rate on your cost sheet, that would come to over $600, $623.52 per home. You add the $224.49 cost of materials, and you have a cost of $848.01 for any additional homes hooked up. In 2017, the council raised our gas basic charge by $5 per month. We were made to believe the gas department needed this money to operate. This increase took effect with the October 2017 billing. The city has collected approximately an additional $96,000 from around 1,200 Tipton utility customers in the last 16 months, all of which has been spent to supply gas to rural residents who pay no taxes to the city of Tipton. If the city can get any more residents to hook up to gas, and then even if they applied all of the $10 basic gas fee to cover the cost, it would take 7 years to recover the cost for each home hookup. Just for each home, it would take you 7 years to recover the cost for each home that you hook up. This does nothing to pay back the $100,000 already spent. If, by chance, you could get 17 more customers, which is doubtful because I've spoken to many of them and they're not interested, you would then have 20 customers to pay back over $100,000 of expense. 20 customers at $10 per month is $200. Divide that into 100,000 and you get 500 months, or 40 years to recover the cost that you got in this project. I'm going to read just one paragraph one more time, then I'll close. In 2017, the council raised our gas basic charge by $5 per month. We were made to believe the gas department needed this money to operate. This increase took effect with the October 2017 billing. The city has collected approximately an additional $96,000 from around 1,200 Tipton utility customers in the last 16 months, all of which has been spent to supply gas for rural residents who pay no taxes to the city of Tipton.
Thank you.
Letting that soak in a second. Bottom line, I want our money back.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
All right. There's no more else for the unscheduled. We'll close that portion of the meeting and move on to the consent agenda. These can be enacted with one motion, which is the approval of the council minutes from December 17th, airport minutes from November 14th, airport minutes from December 12th, library minutes from November 20th, library director's report from November of last year, and the development director's report from December of last year, and the claims list. Is there any of these that need to be pulled out? Seeing there are none, is there a motion to approve? Spear with the first and Leeper with the second.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
All right, so now moving on to new business, which we have the first resolution, which is approving the BWC settlement letter and a sub-final pay application change order number 2 Alex is here.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that are kind of tied together here, so bear with me as I get things organized. Okay, so I guess the first part of this resolution deals with BWC and their performance on Lemon Street. They did not meet the completion date, which I think you're all aware of, which was the end of October. They worked well into November before they finished the project. As a result, they initially incurred some liquidated damages resulting from not meeting that date. In talking with the contractor and trying to kind of move things along, we got in touch with an attorney, John Fry out of Clinton, and worked with BWC to come to a mutual resolution that involved basically some assurances from BWC that they would not charge for extra change order work. They would pay McClure's additional engineering fee, and as a result, the city would drop the liquidated damages. I think it works out to be a net positive for the city and allowed BWC to move forward with kind of finalizing the rest of the paperwork, which would be other items on the list. So with that, we have the sub-final pay application number 6 for $27,990.24. As you'll see on that pay application, there's actually a credit of liquidated damages because when we processed the previous pay application in November, we had 5 days worth of liquidated damages on there. So as part of the settlement letter, we credited that back to the contractor. So that explains the number on that pay application. Again, tied to this is change order number 2 on the project, which is the as-built adjustment to all of the unit prices. So there's, I think, roughly 25 items on the list, but it comes out to be a net contract deduction to the city of $132,074.04. So the city is going to complete the project well under budget. To be fair, there was some stuff that we knew at the beginning of the project that was going to be deducted. This is just kind of the finalization of that. And there were some extra costs assessed to the city as well with the electric relocation that was done as part of the project. But again, $132,074.04 on that. And then lastly is the certificate of substantial completion, which in accordance with the settlement letter and the remaining punch list on the project, backdates substantial completion to the date for liquidated damages to make all of the paperwork kind of jive. So at this point, I guess we recommend that the city approve the motion as written, which would take into, I think, approval of all the 4 items that I just went through.
All right, anything to add, Brian? Any questions for Alex or Brian? Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Motion. McNeil with the first, and Leeper with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
All right, great. Thanks again for that news, Alex.
Thanks,
I
Alex.
like it when you show up. All right, so now the second resolution, which is adopting the proposed plan for the Tipton urban revitalization area. Brian?
Yeah, this and the next item are connected to urban revitalization. And again, this resolution adopts the plan that had been discussed earlier, which has to do with the different types of tax exemptions for residential, multifamily, commercial, and industrial property.
All right, any questions on that? Is there a motion to approve? Boots with the first and Anderson with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
And the second one, which is, the third one, sorry, which is an ordinance designating the area of Tipton, Iowa as an urban revitalization area.
Yeah, and this formalizes everything. This is one of those occasions where you might want to consider waiving readings, because after all, you had 2 30-day waiting periods and a public hearing, and enough time has gone by that the attorney that drew this up said it's often the case that cities do consider waiving readings just because of how long the process took to get to this point. So, but that's up to you folks. accept, to pass the first reading. And then we come back.
Yeah, then we have to come back, yeah, to wait. All right, so Leeper has made a motion to accept the first reading of this ordinance.
I'll second.
Anderson with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots, Anderson,
Yes.
And now,
It'd be a motion to waive the second and third readings and move toward adoption.
so Leeper, did you make that? Leeper made the motion to waive the second and third readings and adopt the ordinance. And Spear with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots, Anderson,
Yes.
Now there'd be a motion to pass the second reading.
Yes. So, does anybody make that motion? Leeper with first, and Boots with second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots, Anderson,
Yes.
And is there a motion for the third?
So moved.
Spear with the first and Anderson with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots, Anderson,
Yes.
All right, so that ordinance has been adopted, or will be adopted. All right, so number 4, which is discussion of possible action concerning amendment number 1 to the agreement for engineering services for the Sager project.
So this amendment is for the seeking of an easement that we would like for a sewer line. This was not in the original agreement. Go back a little bit of history, you guys all remember conversations about how Tipton is unique in that it has 2 facilities, the East Lagoon, the West Lagoon. And the fact that that becomes burdensome when we have to upgrade. Do we want to build 2 facilities, upgrade 2 facilities, or do we just want to take the effluent from the east, bring it over to the west? Naturally, that seems like the better option. Beauty of it is we already have an effluent pumping station that was added years later after the lagoon project that already brings it 90% of the way. And the effluent from the east, 6 months of the year currently, discharges near Pizza Hut and a tributary to Crooked Creek. So you might also remember conversations we talked about extending that outfall there near the box culvert, bringing it over to South Street, dumping it in there, very short stretch, like 300 feet, 250 feet, and then it would gravity flow on down to the West Lagoon, and boom, we have it. Build our facility upgrade down there in one location. Design for South Street came and went. In the meantime, we had 2 things going on, Crooked Creek Trail conversations, as well as other options for possible sewer. And north of the Heartland, out in the undeveloped grass area, there is already some sewer easement and sewer line and manholes established. But there is a gap in between that and our current outfall near Pizza Hut. If we could just close that gap, we could do several things. One, we could avoid digging 25 foot deep in South Street, busting up our new concrete, and we can avoid a little creek crossing there at the box culvert, which is going to be kind of tricky. Grades, we can do it, but it's tight. And if we can get the easement, we can dig approximately 4 to 5 foot deep all the way in gravity to the sewer down to the existing pipe, which is newer. We're not adding flow to South Street, which already has a ton of sewer flow. So I've always been a little reluctant about adding more to that. So this agreement is to look into, this is groundwork for getting that easement. It does involve several property owners in that area. If we achieve that, if we get easement through there, we'd like to call it a dual purpose and possibly utilize it for trail connection. So, seeking your approval for that.
And this is just to look into agreements.
What does
This
it
is not-
include, Alex? You can
Yeah, so
explain that better than me.
I brought the map, I think that's included in your packet.
Yes.
But basically, this would allow us to, this would authorize McClure to go ahead and do all the boundary and legal research necessary to establish those properties, and also develop easements, both permanent and temporary construction easements for that corridor to extend the sanitary sewer. There would be no additional design fee that would be incurred by by us, it's basically a wash one way or the other. But when we were initially planning the project, the South Street was kind of a little bit off, and then that happened while we were still working things out. So with this change in scope, it basically would allow us to go through and do all the legal work required. The one thing it wouldn't do would include negotiations with the property owners. It's really tough to always get a firm price on that. When you have willing landowners, it's often easy to get them to sign an easement. When that's not the case, that can delay the process and extend things out. Our assumption, based on kind of the current land use and what's there right now, is that any easements would be able to be obtained relatively easily, just through conversations. So this agreement doesn't get into that, but would give basically the city all the documents they would need to approach the landowners with, I guess, an offer and go through that acquisition process.
All right.
If we run into tall challenges with this, we may have to back up and still go to South Street. But right now, just lay of the land, it looks like a better option.
Yep. Constructability-wise, it's much better, despite it being a little bit longer of a length of pipe.
Sounds feasible.
All right. Any other questions for Brian or Alex? Is there a motion to approve this?
Second.
Spear with first and Leeper with the second.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil. Booth.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Brian. Number 5, which is a resolution naming depositories. Melissa?
This is our annual resolution just to rename depositories. You have all received revised versions, though, of the resolution. The change in it was to include IP, which the council approved back in August to add them to our depository resolution. So it just didn't get added to the council packet. So you all have the updated version.
All right. Any questions for Melissa? Is there a motion for this? Leeper with a, to approve,
Second.
and Spear with the second.
McNeil. Booth.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
All right, and number 6, which is discussion and possible action concerning the purchase of 2 3-phase primary junction cabinets. And those are electrical, but he's not here. Brian, do you have anything to say?
No, just the low bid for this is $981.20.
And that's the one that Floyd, yeah, said to approve. So there are no questions or concerns about this. Is there a motion to approve? Anderson with the first and Lieber with the second.
Booth.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil.
And now down to reports. I don't have anything for council. Committee, city manager?
I just wanted to mention one thing, and correct me if I remember it wrong. Back in the summer, around June, I think, of 2017, I was working on rewriting 2 rate ordinances that Tim Long had originally written that had to do with the electric and gas. And I think at that time when I started doing that, had been here about 6-7 weeks, something like that. So I wasn't really familiar with the rate study that Bob Latham had done. But my understanding of what that changed was it was a rebalancing of the rate from the usage side of it to the base side of it. Because we had fixed assets, wanted to be sure that the cost of fixed assets were more protected in the rate, and so that they're not in the use rate where if people use less or find other means of energy efficiency, that you would have less revenue to support the fixed assets in those utilities. So, if I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry, but that's what I was thinking those 2 rate ordinances were about, both electric and gas, back in mid-2017. Anyway, that's just my memory of it. So,
All right. Department heads, do you have a Sager System site visit?
Yes.
I guess that's you, Ryan?
Yes, that's. So a few weeks ago, Alex from McClure and several of his coworkers, and also the gal from Nexom, her name, you recall?
Marcy.
Marcy, invited us down and asked permission from New London, Iowa, to have us come down and have a site visit. We went on down there, Steve and I, and Clay Johnson, and town of about 1,800, so a little smaller than us. Not a lot of industry, maybe some small industry. Like us, had aerated lagoons and needed to modify. Now, they did this 3-4 years ago. They were one of the early Sagers in Iowa. And so we had a good tour there, and that tour, I know, built a lot of confidence in me, and so I want to kind of extend some of that to you. The group started, it was kind of rainy, miserable day, imagine that. But we started out in the control room, met two of the operators there. He pulled up a computer screen where he controls the valving and the air operation and stuff like that. He also monitors flows from there. It was kind of cool how they set up the software and stuff. And so the little control facility was nice. They had a lab connected to there. And from there we moved on down the hill and seen their lagoon that they kept in service, although they, extended, connected to it. One thing that caught my eye right away was the aeration style that they had. Our aeration is a grid of piping on the bottom of the lake, and that's all good as long as it's working good and there's no problems, and as long as you don't have to access it. When you do have to access it, it's a pain. You got to get the right testing, you got to get the right results, you got to get the right permission from the DNR, and then you got to draw it down, and then you got to get the high boots on, and then you got to go out in it and work in it. And so the style they have now is totally different. It's basically a floating system on the top. It has some kind of a cable reel system. You can pull it back. You can go out in a boat, service it from the surface of the water. So that was cool. And Alex is working on something like that for us because ours does have some issues. Moving on, we come on around the lake, had a lot of geese just like us. And we come around the backside, and this is where the trenches are. And the trenches are basically, they're real simplistic. Their Sager ditches were probably 25 foot wide by about 400 to 500 foot long. And all you see is kind of a little roll-out curtain on the edges, and you see mulch. That's really all there is to see. Below that is clean rock, like 3/4 inch ballast, and the effluent comes from the lagoon and flows through these beds of rock. They sequence, so they'll operate over here for a while, get good results while this one is regenerating, you might say, and then they'll switch over there for a few months. The operator said, looks like pool water when it comes out. Says looks better than pool water. I got a few good quotes from him like that. So one small challenge is they are required by the DNR to keep mulch on there, 18 inches. That's a heat retention, okay? We're talking over an acre of Sager trenches for our system, so we're gonna have a lot of mulch initially and keep it up. Well, you all know that we make quite a bit of mulch here in town, so that'll be an advantage for us. We'll have a place to go with it. Because that can be a problem, finding a place to go with all that mulch. Had that problem in West Branch. So anyway, we'll have a place to go with that. They come on around, they have a couple small building structures. One is a building with air compressors in it, because the system also uses a lot of air in the trenches. Okay, they're a large, kind of a commercial unit, so we'll have something similar to that. Have a small building to house those. They have another small building where the effluent leaves the plant and goes through
Ultraviolet disinfection.
disinfection. Yeah, ultraviolet disinfection. That's about 6 months of the year. It's not operated year round. I was shocked at the quality of the effluent. It truly looks like it's crystal clear. And a couple quotes from the operators. It's turnkey and run. We have no issues. very low maintenance. It's working really good. What would you change, we asked them. Do you recall anything about change? No. So I hope that helps build your confidence tonight in what we're gonna do. So,
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Good information.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I heard that. It's that time of year, we're doing our Citizens Police Academy. I would really hope that at least 2 council people would show up. We had 2 last time, so you guys you don't have to.
Oh, did we pass?
Yes. Yes.
I would highly recommend it.
And the mayor came along.
The mayor came along, yeah.
Yes, it's 10 weeks. It was a very great class. It was good for our officers. They each taught at least one of the classes, if not more than one. I think it was very beneficial for the public. They had questions, they could ask whatever. We have 4 people that took the class in here, and I think everybody was pretty happy. There's some hands-on, and then there's some listening. If anybody in the audience, I didn't bring enough. If you would like the flyer, we can get flyers. I also have applications. We only take 15 people, and I believe I have 4 already through the Rotary auction. So we have about 11 spots left, and so if anybody has questions, talk to me about it. But we, hopefully, 1 or 2 of the council will come to. It's nice to have council members there, learning a little bit more about our department.
Will the mayor get tased again?
Sure. It wasn't that bad, was it? He did get tased. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so now we are down to adjournment, so if there's a motion to adjourn. Second. Boots with the first and Leeper with the second.
Spear.
Yes.
Weaver. McNeil. Boots. Yes. Anderson.
Yes.
Okay.
We are adjourned, thank you everyone.